Hello everyone, welcome into our latest live video. Today it is Friday, the 3rd of October, 2025. My name is Carey Holzman, and thank you for joining me today. I've got a pretty loose schedule today. I thought we would invite questions from the audience, as well as take a look, as time permits, at a couple other, the last of the machines actually, that I picked up from the computer recycling yard that people have dropped off to be recycled. And, you know, there's more computers there than you can shake a stick at. And the last time we were over to Emerald Computers, we picked up a few laptops, a NAS, or I guess it's a micro server, and a couple of desktops that I thought were a little unique or unusual. I have no idea what's inside of them or how old they are, whether or not these are ready for the scrapyard or they can be repurposed and sent back out. But we can look at that together and kind of evaluate some of the equipment that people are turning in as recyclable trash. So from other people's perspectives, this computer here and this computer here, they're garbage. They don't want them. They take them to the recycling center. They don't sell them. They drop them off and they dispose of them properly. Dispose. But I see people throw stuff that's really good. They still throw it away, and other stuff should have been thrown away years ago. You know, they'll be using equipment that's well over 10 years old and maybe getting closer to 15 or 20, and they just don't want to let it go. There's like an emotional bond there. And, you know, it's interesting to see from my perspective the different values human beings place on their equipment and whether or not they become emotionally attached to it. Just they get comfortable and they don't like change. And everybody's different. And I'm just kind of curious as we look around in the warehouse at Emerald Computers, how, you know, some things that are turned in are clearly vintage items that are worth, they're already so old, you know, by the time that they're turned in, somebody might feel like, hey, that's time to restore that just for the sake of history. Most of the stuff there is low-end computers, budget baseline computers, that from the day they were new had a very limited lifespan. But at the same time, like literally, if someone at that same time bought a high-end computer and they were to turn that in again at the same time, years later, that high-end computer would likely still have many years left in it. So if you want a computer that's going to last a long time, get yourself a nice high-end computer. If you want a computer every couple of years, then go ahead and just buy the cheapest thing possible. Likely the more expensive computer will be cheaper through the course of ownership, but you know, a decision for each of us to make, especially if our needs change as users. The way we use the computer sometimes changes for many of us. Excuse me. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I want to give a shout out and a reminder to our friends. Well, a reminder to you and a shout out to our friends at URCDKeys, because we brought back the legitimate Windows and Microsoft Office license keys discounted for you guys. I'll take, let's see, let's go over here and show you some screenshots. So here's the website, and bear in mind, you know, prices are subject to change as the foreign exchange rates change. And use the coupon code CAREY. This is where you put your coupon code in, and you get 25% off. And then when you get your license code, you're going to get an email after you buy it, and it's going to explain to you how to download Windows, although you can watch one of our videos if you want. But when you pay for your license key for Windows or Office, you're going to get an email. And an email is going to explain where you download the product. It's always going to be from Microsoft. And then after the product is installed, how you enter your product key. And they've asked us to do a walkthrough of this, but the problem for me is there's a lot of personal identifiable information regarding what email address you're going to use, your payment, like if you're using PayPal or you're using a credit card. And for me to film this process means I have to go through the entire thing off camera, not only edit it, but then blur out everything on the screen that could identify me. So I get enough harassment. I don't want to invite that. So instead, I've decided to take this approach, which is, if you're interested, all I need you to know is it's 100% guaranteed going to work. If you have any questions or problems in the process, they will help you if you ask them for help. But if you're impatient or because there's a time difference between us, and they're on a holiday right now. They've got the big Chinese holiday, which is National Day. That's from October 1st to October 8th every year. So you could reach out to us directly at our email address right here with your order number, and we can assist you. Or if you have any questions, we'll do our best to provide answers for you on their behalf, quite frankly. They're product keys I use myself for my real business, so they have to be real. They have to be supported. And this company hasn't let me down. They've been fantastic. Sometimes the end users make mistakes. Sometimes they make mistakes. So don't immediately go on the warpath until we determine who made the mistake. Then we fix it every single time. We've never had an unfixable mistake. So you're never going to lose your money. You're never going to get ripped off. And I can't say that for all the Windows and Office key sellers online. But this one, I can personally stand behind them. That's how confident I am. Name me another content creator who stands behind the product the way I do. I'm not selling it. That's how strongly I feel about just how legitimate their business is. I stake my reputation on it. And if they don't make it right, I will. And if that were to happen numerous times, they wouldn't be here. All right, so I want you to keep that in mind. They're strongly incentivized. They want to be here, and we want to have them here. So if you're in the market for a key and you don't want to roll the dice and hope you get a legit key, you go to them, make sure you get your legit key, and they will send you an email with all the instructions. And if you run into any issues or concerns or questions, you can always reach out to us at that email address below. We love hearing from you guys. All right, let's say hello to everybody hanging out with us here in the chat room today. We've got Gilbert Colazzo saying hello, along with Jonathan Fells. I see Scott and Mark Baggett. Of course, Marlene is hanging out. Eddie Casanova and Dustin Fuller say hello, along with Andy W6AD. Hey, there's Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-To. He says, good evening, everyone, from the UK. Welcome in, Mike. Hello to Kath. Hope you guys are doing well. He's been busy this week. Saw a lot of content over there at Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-To. And if you enjoy this kind of content, you should absolutely, if you're not already, subscribe over there and, show him a little love. And I think you're going to love his content. I do. Let's see, 3D Everything says hello, and Ben Laird joining us from Scotland saying hello. Of course, our friend Buster out there in Scotland sends us his super chat via Amazon gift card this morning. Thank you so much, as always, Buster. Sounds like he's doing well out there. And I got a nice little video from our friend Luke out in Vermont showing the frost-covered grass and the forest in Vermont. And wow. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I can't believe it's already that cold there. Kind of wish I was there. I think, is today another 100-degree day? I think we're past our 100-degree days. I think we're down to about 97. So, that's a big difference. Sarcasm. I'll take it, though. I'll take anything I can get. Jim Kenny says, hey, I made it before we started finally. Welcome in, Jim. We can start now. He's here. All right, David Graham says hello. And let's see. Our friend Buster in Scotland, he's in Edinburgh, says 53 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and 11.6 degrees Celsius is the temperature for everybody else that understands that language. Imperial units only, please. Let's see. Abdul Azib Patel is now a member, just renewed membership, and now a member for 34 months to the channel. Without our members, well, this channel would be very different looking, I'll tell you that. And we can't thank our members enough for enabling us to do the reviews and the frequency of videos we do. Because without them, I'd be back picking up more managed service providing clients in order to pay the bills. And that means I wouldn't have as much time to do this, and I wouldn't have as much money to pour into this. So instead, what would happen without members is this channel would probably go to one video a week, and that would probably be a product that was sent to us for review, and that would be the status of the channel until the economy changes or YouTube fades out, because YouTube has been fading. So we'll see what happens. I hope it comes back. Everybody across the board that's a content creator on YouTube is seeing a significant drop in views and revenue. So again, with our members, we're immune from any of those changes, and we'll just keep going. And for those of you who enjoy the content, you have the members in green in our chat room to thank for that. And of course, other content creators like Mike's Unboxing, Reviews, and How To that inspire us. I get some video ideas from time to time watching Mike's Unboxing. I wonder which video idea I got recently that came from Mike. Anybody want to guess? It's pretty simple. 25H2. I admit it. I was inspired. Had to do it myself. Let's see. Hey, maybe the favor can be returned. Maybe I inspire Mike to do something. I don't know. It's all good. John Lewis from Brazil joins us here in the chat room. And Paul Connolly down in Australia says hello. Dazzle555 and David Martinez saying hello. Mortaunt1210 joining us in the chat. Essential working too hard and Pop Crash. Pop Crash wants to know if those Windows and Office keys will work in Canada. There are no restrictions on license keys that exist on the planet. So any software made by any manufacturer with any key will work anywhere in the world. That's universal. It's just software. So yes, it does work. If you're asking, is it legal to use it in Canada? It is. There may be restrictions where a Microsoft license key can't be used, like a nuclear facility, but that's more of a Microsoft policy than anything else. And I don't think you're buying license keys for a nuclear facility, are you?
You have email.
And I have email. Thank you, Bara. Nice thumbnail, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, the keys will work anywhere in the world. They're not region restricted. And thank you for the question. I can't emphasize enough, whatever your anxiety or your worry is about buying these keys, we've got your back. You don't have to worry about that question. We sometimes answer more questions about theoretical problems that never have existed than actually fix real problems. So if you go forward, please do go forward without any anxiety with regards to the Windows and Office keys. No matter what happens, we've got your back. And likely what's going to happen is it's all going to work just fine, because I am not sitting here taking hundreds of emails of people needing help. I'm one guy. I would not make that offer if that was the likely issue. So you don't have to worry about what if. You're just going to buy it. You're going to follow the instructions. If there's any confusion about those instructions or any issues about those instructions, they will help you, or you can email us and we'll help you. Okay, so peace of mind, you're going to be okay. But what we can't do is we can't help you to fix something you never even needed to be fixed. So we wait till we get to the bridge. And if you need help crossing the bridge, we'll help you. But most people get across the bridge just fine, and it's really easy. So I just want to instill some peace of mind. We're not like other YouTube channels. We 100% stand behind anything we promote here, to the point that I cover it myself, even if I refund your money myself out of my own pocket. That's how strongly I feel about it. Okay. So Andy says he bought a key from them and it was painless. Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be, or we're not going to work with them anymore. So just so you know, I don't make a commission off of whether or not you buy a Microsoft Windows or Office key. There's no commission in it for me. I'm trying to help you guys save money. And if you want to save money, there you go. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you want to spend more for a license key. Maybe you want to get ripped off. Maybe you want to roll the dice and hope the seller on eBay sells you something real. Hey, you could potentially want that. I'm assuming you don't, but maybe I'm wrong. David says, I bet the streamer doesn't like being covered. Well, that is true that there are fans on top of the streaming computer there, but they very rarely ever turn because broadcasting, like right now, we're using 2% of our CPU power. I don't think it's going to overheat. But yeah, it's whenever you have fans on top of the computer, it's not a good idea to put anything on top. But you're not wrong. Okay, I'm going to try this name. Benagliotis Gramopoulos says hello into the chat room. I don't know how badly I butchered that.
Just FYI, we're seeing some strange sort of internet stuff.
I'm not seeing it here.
I saw everything from the internet connection fine, but the videos, it's not a lot. It's
oh, you know what? There are some drop frames. There are a couple drop frames. Okay.
quiet.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't notice that before. We are getting some drop frames. Where was I? 3D Everything says it looks like Greek to me. All right. I suppose it couldn't hurt anything to get this off of there, just in case we're generating a lot of heat. I don't think we are. But I suppose if a machine was getting really hot, yeah, it feels fine. I don't think that's the problem, but could be. Absolutely could be. All right. Let's see. Where was I? Back over here. Back over here. Oh, emails. I almost forgot to check my emails. Let's do that. If you have a question for me before we get started today, fire away. Whatever's on your mind. Doesn't have to be anything in line or on topic. Right now, the topic's a little bit of ask me anything. We'll go through that first. And then we'll, I don't know, take a look at one of these. And time permitted, we'll take a look at the second one. And maybe we'll get through both today and just determine if they really need to go to the scrapyard or if they still have some life left in them. Our friend Mark Gaines sends a Amazon gift card. He says, I hope you enjoy this Amazon gift card. I just got back from celebrating my son's 21st birthday. Here is my contribution in lieu of Super Chat. How can Mark Gaines have a 21-year-old son? Isn't he like 30? Well, congratulations there. That means if you just got back, that means you've got your kids out of the house. And it sounds like maybe they're still in school, or what a great age that is, though, 21. You know, the whole world's ahead of you, right in front of you, just waiting. And those next 7 or 8 years are probably going to end up defining what you end up doing with for a career. Right on. Happy birthday to your son. Raymond sends us $12.86 in PayPal from the UK. Well, thank you to Raymond in the UK. Thank you to Kelly Stewart. Kelly's a good friend of the channel out there in California. He also sent an Amazon gift card earlier, and I just want to shout out and say hello to Kelly. Kelly Stewart. We haven't seen him in the chat for a while. I think he's been busy and a little under the weather lately, but otherwise, it seems like he's doing well. He reached out. We chatted a little bit. Always good to hear from him. David Graham says, what's in this big guy? Well, you know, we could take a look-see. Let me move this one out of the way since we have such a limited space here. Let me look around the room and see if there's a spot about this big I can place. Don't hold your breath. I think maybe just right at my feet. I'll just put it down there for now. What's in here? Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. I've never seen this case before. And by the way, while I'm doing this, if you have any questions about anything, if I can answer it, tech questions, computer, Windows, internet questions, feel free to ask. Ports on the back, we got a VGA and a DVI back there, so that should tell you a little something about its age. The front of the case says Ostrog. I don't know what an Ostrog is. We still have an optical drive in here, and there's a message in there for all of you optical drive enthusiasts. They couldn't even be bothered to remove 2 screws to take the optical drive out. That's how much they don't use optical drives anymore. Not even a consideration, not worth the effort of removing screws to keep it. I'm just saying, for just some perspective, they're pretty much done with optical drives. As far as I know, there is no manufacturers of them anymore. And so anything that's for sale is probably old inventory. And it's just slowly fading away. I'm sure in 50 years there'll be somebody still using them, but it'd be pretty hard to locate them. Not going to be a real big club of optical drive enthusiasts in a few years. You'd be your only member. Charlie Purdy says hello in the chat. Welcome into Charlie. There's Martin Aronson saying hello. Welcome in, guys. Caniac44 says hello. I'll tell you what, I see that name and I think of the fast food chicken fingers restaurant, Raising Cane's. And there was a special, like a documentary that was on, I can't think of which YouTube channel it was. They spent about 45 minutes talking to Todd, the CEO. He privately owns this company, privately. He seems like any ordinary guy. He's not wearing fancy clothes, fancy jewelry. He lives from Louisiana. And I guess Raising Cane means kind of like raising hell, being a troublemaker. It was the name of his dog. They called his dog Raising Cane, golden retriever. Named the restaurant after that, gives a portion of the profits to dog shelters and dog charity. And he is worth, this is the thing that just about knocked me out of my chair. The guy who owns the national football team, the Dallas Cowboy, Jerry Jones, he's worth $20 billion. This guy's, he's in his 80s, I think, and he goes and he's got the fancy jewelry and the nice, dressed really to the top, all, brand, what do you want to call that? Luxury brand clothing. And, he's someone to be seen. Very wealthy man. He wants you to know he's wealthy. Todd over at Raising Cane's is worth more than that. I think he's worth $22 billion. Just dresses like me. He doesn't talk fancy. He still gets in the kitchen and it'll run the fryers if need be. Over 900 stores in the United States. I don't know how he checks on every one of them. Can you imagine if you had to go and inspect your stores and make sure they're living up to your reputation, and you wanted to visit, I don't know, all 900 of those stores in a year? Would it even be possible? And he hasn't even opened up overseas yet. So I see Caniac 44, and that's one of their box meals, is the Caniac. So it's one of my favorite places because the chicken's very fresh. They bread it right there. You're not getting frozen chicken fingers like most restaurants serve. And their menu is basically chicken fingers, French fries, garlic toast, and coleslaw. And when he was doing the interview, the guy doing the interview didn't touch the coleslaw. And Todd says, "You're not much of a coleslaw fan, are you?" He goes, "No, I don't care for it." He goes, "Me neither, but people tell me it's good." And he wasn't eating it either. And that's the only 4 things on the menu. And they have their own dipping sauce. And they said, "Hey, what's in this dipping sauce?" And he goes, "Chicken fingers." That's what you use it for. Anyway, so it was an interesting interview to find somebody so well grounded and down to earth who maintains control of the company rather than selling it and then having to answer to the investors with quarterly profits and earnings reports and getting votes and things to open other stores. It's all on him. He's the single owner, runs the whole place, makes all the decisions with regards to the expansion and he's loving what he does, which is also another great thing to see. They didn't just hire some outside CEO, although actually he did, but he doesn't just turn all the operations over to the CEO. He is the one everything has to go through for approval, which, you know, should be the way every corporation is run in America, as far as I'm concerned. The investors ruin everything. All right, let's see what's in here. Your tale on Business 101 today from somebody who's never run a super successful business, so you shouldn't be taking any business advice from me. I mean, my business hasn't failed, but I don't have 900 locations. Let me put it to you that way. All right, look at this. We have ketchup and mustard colored cables. And let me get my glasses. Let's see. It looks like we got a drive in here. So I want to let you know that when computers are dropped off, oh, no RAM. When computers are dropped off, one of the services that Emerald Computers does is they destroy the hard drives. If they're going to repurpose, like let's just say this had pretty decent parts still in it, they would put a brand new storage drive in it, brand new SSD. They won't mess around trying to securely erase. That's too risky. They will absolutely 100% of the time destroy the drive. So whether it's a mechanical drive, they have a contractor that picks those up, I guess, by the pallet or by the pound, and they get basically melted down for parts. If it's an SSD drive, they have a shredder. They just shred it, and then the circuit board, such material, goes off to that different kind of a recycler, electronics recycler. So the reason this still has a drive in it is I took this before they had a chance to look at it. I'm authorized in that way, so I'm not like some Joe going, oh, you can trust me, I'll erase that. They wouldn't do that. So I just want you to rest assured that we're going to just disconnect it because we don't know what's on it. And furthermore, we don't care. I promise you. I promise you there's nothing on that drive I could give a rat's behind about. I don't know what's going on with people that have nothing else better to do and they want to snoop into other people's stuff. I don't get it. There's got to be something else better in your life you can do. Furthermore, I treat people the way I want to be treated. If I don't want somebody snooping into my stuff, I'm not going to snoop into their stuff. If I don't want to be punched in the face, I'm not going to punch somebody in the face. I mean, it's a pretty simple rule of life. Treat people the way you want to be treated, the golden rule, and always expect to get back whatever you give. If you give a bad attitude, expect to get a bad attitude back. If somebody gives you a bad attitude, you don't need to return it in kind. You could simply walk away or tell them, have a nice day. You don't have to let people manipulate you like a stringed puppet. Unless you like that sort of thing, I'm against it. So I prefer to maintain control of my own emotional state and not allow people to manipulate me as much as I can. I highly advise other people do that. It's a much easier way to get through life, I have found. So that being said, I guess we can't turn it on without RAM. I think this is, what, DDR3? Or is it DDR4? Let's take a look. This is an MSI motherboard. I'm going to guess this is DDR3 because it's a B85M. Let me open up my browser and let's take a look at this board. See, it's a CSM B85M E45, and I'm going to write the word release date to see when this board was introduced. 2013. This motherboard was released in late 2013, nearly 2014, focusing on 4th generation Intel Haswell processors on the LGA 1150 socket. This, of course, uses the B85 chipset. The release date often refers to the time the chipset and compatible CPUs were launched. Haswell processors were launched around June of 2013, and the B85 chipset and related boards following in the subsequent months. There's a document listing the motherboard's details that specifies a date of September 24th of 2013 for the MS7817 version 2.1 model, which is also known as the CSM B85M E45. Yeah, that's what we got here, the E45. So this thing, this is ancient. Like, if you had 8th generation or newer Intel, you could I'm seeing a significant internet interruption here. Okay, sorry, we had an internet interruption there. That was on us. Interesting. Just came out of nowhere. I don't know if what I just said got heard, but basically, this computer is so old. Hey, Mara? The internet seems to be having an issue here today, and it's been fine all week. All right, sorry, I was muting so I could talk to Mara. She can work in the background and try and resolve this. Without me having to stop everything. We are all over the map on this. It's pretty bad. We are live and unscripted, so please bear with us. Mara's working on it right now. Corey Man said our sound is working, it's just the video is having issues. That makes sense. I'm seeing our upload speed go from 30 megs per second down to 1, then to 12, then back to 30, then down to 12, then down to 1. It keeps going back and forth and back and forth. This is very unusual.
Okay, the ISP is running 100.
Can we change channels on the router? Okay. We might see a little interruption here as we change our broadcast channels. Sometimes we have a broadcast channel that works for days and all of a sudden it stops. Whether that's a neighbor turning something on that's interfering or the device itself is auto-changing the channel, I don't know. But it's a very first and early way to diagnose a Wi-Fi problem is to simply change your broadcast channels on your router. More times than not, that does solve it. So I apologize if the video is a little bit herky-jerky, but hopefully we'll get this stabilized in a minute. And then as long as you guys can hear me, I do want to continue to invite you to ask questions in the chat room today. This is an Ask Me Anything show. And I will let you know when I'm back in the green. OBS is showing me pretty terrible numbers right now. And all week we've been solid, not a problem. And we haven't changed anything.
I'm going to change channels in just seconds.
Yeah, if you see an interruption in the video, it's because the router is changing channel. Now, it just went solid green. No, still not good. It's green for a few seconds.
Okay.
Mm-mm. We're in the yellow right now, which isn't as bad. Well, now it went to red. Staying in red, went to yellow, still yellow, still yellow. Oh, back to red. It won't even get back to green. Could we hardwire the internet? We could if we had about a 150-foot Ethernet cable. But it's very uncomfortable to have to run a cable that long and then watch everywhere you're stepping that you don't trip over it. But we do have one. I mean, that is an emergency fallback if we need it.
Okay. It looks optimized.
Yeah. I could try changing to a different ingest server. Well, we're going to try again. None of the settings I'm changing in OBS seem to be making any difference. So instead, no. I was going to say I shut OBS down and restarted it. Our Wi-Fi signal to the streaming computer is 100%. Like we're solid. So I don't know if this is a YouTube issue or what's going on. It's not us. Problems like this can get very frustrating, especially if you think there's something you can fix and it's nothing on your side. If this is a ISP related issue, we have to wait for them to resolve it. It could also be a YouTube related issue because when I'm trying to change the ingest server, it won't let me. So it's not that OBS is having any issues with our encoding or transmission. It's the transmission itself to YouTube, somewhere between us and YouTube. It's unstable. I mean, I'm sitting here and just watching it, and it's all over, up and down, up and down. So it's gone green, but it's now it's fallen again. This is all it's doing, and it's nothing we're doing. So I guess we'll just try and carry on as best we can. I am recording the show locally, so we do have a local broadcast uninterrupted.
I do apologize. It looks like everything from our perspective.
Yeah, I don't think it's us. I think it's YouTube. But I can't use any of their backup servers. It's not letting me. So maybe some bells and whistles are going off at YouTube, and it may take them a minute to be aware of it and then to fix it. I really don't know. It's staying in green right now, but it's, oh, no, there it goes. I get hopeful, like, oh, it's staying green for a while. So, given that it's been working solid all week and we've made no changes, I can't make heads or tails of it. Nothing's moved. So as far as our network connection and our mesh points, they're all in the same place, doing the same thing they've always done. OBS settings haven't changed. Nothing has changed. Same stream rate, same ingest server. Everything we've been doing the same all week. Let me stop the stream one more time. I can try restarting the streaming computer, but it does not appear to be that the computer's having any resource issues at all. I don't hear the fans cranking up. I don't see high CPU usage. And it does seem to be some kind of a Wi-Fi issue, but maybe it's the Wi-Fi. Well, no, it wouldn't be Wi-Fi because we're hardwired into the mesh. So the only thing that's Wi-Fi is one mesh to the other mesh. But we have a physical wired cable coming out of the streamer going into the mesh point. So that wouldn't make any sense. That can't be it. Okay, so I got it finally to work on the backup server at YouTube, their ingest server where we transmit to. And let's see if things work a little better now. What?
I am starting.
From us?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm not. Now everything looks fine.
Okay, well, then I don't do anything.
Yeah, just leave it right. Well, I might be speaking to. It's performing better. I can tell you that. I'm on YouTube's backup server. That's all I've changed. No, it just fell.
Okay, can I fix it?
Yeah.
It's going to take you down.
Yeah, okay, we'll be down for a second while she fixes it. All right, let's see if we're a little more stable this time. Very strange. But hey, nothing a few techs can't work out with that and a hammer. I hope everybody can see and hear me back to normal again, and appreciate your patience as we work out technical issues while we are live. It does sometimes happen. Luckily, it doesn't happen very often, but it looks pretty good now. Congratulations to Mara, working in the background. It looks like she's got it resolved for us. All right, so now where was I? Well, we were talking about this system here from Emerald Computers. That's apparently a 4th generation processor. You need 8th generation or newer to be Windows 11 compatible. And well, you do have another year on Windows 10 if you, no, there goes the connection again. If we do our Windows 10 extended security updates, then we get another 12 months. We'll get to October 2026, which I suppose, you know, in that regard, this machine could do if you had some RAM laying around. I'm going to guess that's DDR3. I don't see if it tells us anywhere on here. Either way, you know, depending on what CPU is under there, it could be an i3, an i5, an i7. It wouldn't be of interest to me personally. This is definitely recyclable material from where I stand. I wouldn't want to support this. Getting any parts for it would be difficult. And there's nothing real a big investment in this with regards to expensive coolers or, you know, there's nothing outrageous about it. It was somebody's project that built it. It does have an HDMI port on it though, which I didn't notice before. HDMI, DVI, and VGA, and you know, an older style power supply here that's apparently made by, it's a no-name brand. It's not like some people, when they build computers, is what I'm trying to say, they will put some pretty high-end components in there. But this looks like it was built to a budget. I don't know who makes this power supply. It's a 550 watt. It's not 80 plus efficient. It doesn't match the case color. It doesn't have sleeved cables. And yet it does have a case window to show it all off for some reason. So a little bit of a mismatch of components. The case is made by Enermax. And I just realized that because it says Enermax is right up here at the top. And it sounds like we got some parts rolling around in here. You hear it? Well, I found one of the screws for the side panel we removed, because that's where that goes. Right. Well, I think I've seen enough of this one. How about you? You feel the same way? All right, let me just throw the panel back on it, and this one will, everything that we've borrowed from Emerald Computers goes back to Emerald Computers. And then what we usually do is I will take some notes to let Emerald Computers know basically what's inside of it. And then I'm hoping, what my goal is I'm helping them, that they don't have to start all over from scratch and figure out on their own what we've already done. And if I can save them a little time and say, hey, you know, this is what's in here, then they can determine what they want to do with it. I know what I would do with it, which is what I'm about to do with it right now. Get rid of it. So let me move this away, and we'll pull the other machine up. You know, I still hear another screw rolling around in there. I bet that's the other screw for the panel. But I'm not going to worry myself over it. Now this little box has a sticker on it that says it's an AMD A9 7th gen. And Lenovo likes to use these rectangular yellow-tipped power adapters on everything. You wouldn't think a machine this big would use a laptop power connector, but there you have it. There's no power supply in here. It's right here. Very unusual. We've got rubber feet down here on the bottom, so we can set this up this way. And there is no rubber feet anywhere else, so I guess this is intended to be set up right. Very strange. On the back, I mean, it looks like you could set it on the way, you know, flat, but there's no rubber feet there to keep it from scoring up your desk. We've got a VGA and an HDMI port, Ethernet, 2 USB 2s, and our power adapter. I mean, as far as ports go, you're not getting a lot. This is likely really intended for business use. That would be my guess. And the front of it, with the 4 USB ports up front, memory card reader over here, and what am I missing? Oh, microphone and headphone jack, power button. Let's see what's inside of it. I mean, it kind of tells us, but I'm kind of curious if we have a drive hooked up or anything like that. We'll grab that. And we'll grab that. It does look like the internet's still struggling a little bit, so we'll just keep going, and at the very least you can hear me. Like I said, we record all of these streams locally. That way, if and when things like this happen, we can always take this original video down and replace it with a recording. And then the people watching the recording will be like, hey, the video looks fine. What's he talking about? Because they weren't here for the live. But that's why we do that. It's our own little backup procedure. Okay, so that's easy. What do we got in here? Well, isn't that cute? Just the tiniest little CPU fan you've ever seen. Look at this. Look at that little teeny tiny CPU fan. Where is it? Right here. It's that big. Super tiny. We've got the same old budget Western Digital blue. There's no gold in them there hills, let me tell you. This is some cheap stuff. It looks like we've got a little instruction here that says to do something with this. Let's see. We can go back over to camera 1. Push down. That clearly indicates down, so we'll push that down. And then what? Swing this out? Maybe? I've never worked on one of these before. Looks like I'm missing a step. Oh, it looks like the whole front comes off. Oh. It's not budging here. There must be another release I'm missing somewhere. This button is releasing the top. Definitely got locked in. Usually on these mass-produced computers like from HP, Lenovo, Dell, they'll have a very unique way that you open them. So for example, we have an arrow here that indicates this piece. This is our PCI slot cover that locks everything in, that lifts up. Usually if you just look with your, look at the details and inspect it closely, a lot of times the answer is right in front of us the whole time. Or I should say for me anyway, the answer is right in front of me the whole time. Something feels like it's being locked in right there. So when I release this mechanism, is it releasing the bottom one too? Is it part of the same? Because otherwise there should be another very conspicuous, very obvious release mechanism. But it's so tight, it doesn't feel like it's stuck it feels like there's another mechanism that has to be loosened. In the chat room, they say the front panel comes off first. I was wondering about that. We can remove these clips and we remove the front panel, and let's see if that makes the difference. There's our front panel, and that's what the front looks like if you're curious. And then if we push this down, it's a little awkward for me to do it that way. Let me face me. Now, something's definitely holding it here. Somewhere here, there's a lock. Is it on the front, behind the panel? I don't see anything here. I see nothing. There's a spring. There is a spring right in, if you look through this hole, there's a little spring. And maybe, just maybe, that one lever is supposed to release this catch and that one. Maybe there's a long bar connecting them. I won't know until I remove it. I don't have to worry about breaking it, I can tell you that. But it's just, I'd rather do it right regardless. There's probably some real obvious and easy thing that I am not seeing here. Or it could be jammed. I see a hinge right here. So that implies this whole thing should swing open like a door. So what I'm guessing is there's a mechanism holding us in here. Is it underneath? No. Nothing under there. This is like the best video game ever. I love figuring stuff like this out. Like I said, usually the answer is right in front of us the whole time. I'll get there. I'm looking for any other release, and I do not see it. So is it just jammed? Doesn't feel jammed. This side is real easy, and this side, it ain't budging. So if I look where that screw is, you know what? There's a lever here. Let me try something. Grab a little driver. Does that lever move? May not be a lever. If I look through the hole over here, we should have a spring in there. Let's see. If I break it, I bought it. That's right. That is our arrangement. Where is it caught up at? It does look like there's some kind of a mechanism right here. I keep going back to the same spot. There it is. There's a metal tab that goes into a slot. And I don't know if there's any mechanical way to remove that. I think it was super tight, but it was so tight that it felt like it was pretty well locked into me. Let me put this back before it falls out. Put that back down. And then let's go back to this. So now this should tilt forward. And the piece of metal I'm talking about is right, this piece of metal right here. See how that just moved? That is not supposed to pop out, Carey. That should be on a spring. And it is not doing, it's not. I'm going to guess something's wrong with it. So when I push down right here, I'm guessing that's moving this metal tab in here. Right? Let's see. Yeah, it's going to be right after the hard drive, right in here. There's a metal tab, but it slides in and out. So it was locked in, and I just used the screwdriver to pull that metal tab back by hand, and it moved back easily. It wasn't like it was jammed. It feels more like a spring or some connecting rod that connects the two is bent or broken. And because I haven't opened up one of these before, I wasn't real confident on how to open it up. Removing the drive looks like we just push down on this plastic piece here, maybe. When these machines are built for businesses, they're often built in a way that is very easy to open them up and work on them quickly. So as I look in here, what I'm looking for over on this side is what's possibly holding the drive in, because usually on a lot of these business class computers, a screwdriver isn't needed. And typically it's written right on, could be engraved right into the metal where a little arrow is pointing and indicating. So I have a red tab here, and my guess is the red tab goes down. Everything's so tight. I don't know if it's age or if it's me, but when I push in on the tabs, then the drive easily just comes out. So we've got a Western Digital Blue 1 terabyte in here, which again, we don't really care about anything on the drive, so I'm just going to pull the plug on it. But that's how easy it is to work on these business class machines. Furthermore, to put another drive in, you put the drive in the caddy. There's no screws in this caddy. The drive will just pop out just like a NAS. And that way your IT department can get in and out, put a new drive in. Same with the optical drive. It looks like we got a red pull tab maybe right here. And normally, if you look, the back is narrower than the front. So it's got to go out this direction. It can't go this direction because it's not a hole wide enough, I believe. Let me just see if this theory holds up. So there's a tab, push it in, and yeah, if we disconnect it, this is pretty nice too. We've got a SATA and power micro adapter. So if you had a service call that the optical drive wasn't working, you'd grab another matching part number for this Lenovo, and then this piece, I wasn't paying attention, no, this just came off. This piece goes on there. Let me see if I can figure this out. I think it goes here, like that. No tools are required. And you're going to take the new one, slide that bad boy in there, and it's locked in. It's not going anywhere. And you have just one cable to hook up to get power and data back on that bad boy. As you can imagine, coming from the corporate world, getting back into consumer stuff, I cringe at some of this consumer stuff. I cringe at all the cables and the RGB and the hoses for the liquid cooling, because in business, we're working on such a bigger scale. We might need to fix 30, 40 computers per person per day. When I say per person, I'm talking to all your coworkers in the IT department. And you don't want to fix things much faster than your coworkers, or they're going to hate you. And you don't want to fix things much slower than your coworkers, or your boss is going to bring you into the office and tell you to get up to speed, or we're going to let you go. And so part of that process is familiarizing yourself with whatever your company uses. So if a company uses Lenovo, they probably have a bunch of Lenovo machines that are all the same. And even the Lenovo machines they have that are different are likely sort of following the same build construction patterns that you're already familiar with that specific manufacturer. So you can get really, really quick at what you do simply through repetition over and over and over again. And to be able to get in and swap parts like a hard drive, especially hard drives, they fail all the time. You would not have to open it up to change power supply. You just change out the power supply like it's a laptop. You are in and out. The one bad side of this that I can see is this little teeny tiny CPU fan. That thing's got to be loud. And this does have Wi-Fi on it, as we can see here. But what is it? An AMD, what'd I say the label said? The label says it's a, right here, says it's an AMD A9 7th generation, and we do have a Windows 8 sticker on here, so that should give us some indication. If I had to guess just based on the Windows 8 sticker, I'm going to say about the same, maybe 2013. Let's take a look. Let's go to, let me go over to Google, and let's see when the release date was for an AMD A9 7th gen. Oh, 2016. The AMD A series 7th generation, codenamed Stony Ridge, launched in May of 2016 for mobile and desktop platforms, with desktop versions shipping in the second half of 2016, which brings us closer to 2017. The A9 Pro processors, rather, like the A9 9425, they were part of this generation, designed for efficiency and performance improvements over previous generations. It's DDR4 RAM, and they made this chip available for mobile and for desktop use. This would be a desktop chip, I believe. It's awfully tiny. Maybe it's a mobile chip they used on the desktop. Based on its size, that explains the tiny fan. There is RAM in this, and we can turn it on. The other thing we can do, Lenovo's and HP's and Dell's, they'll have a service tag number, and we can often go to support.hp.com or support.lenovo, support.dell, and we can look up the service tag number, which would be right under here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a picture of it with my phone so I can zoom in and read it, because it's an awkward thing to look at, and it's such a small font. So by taking a picture of that, I've got a serial number. So with the serial number, let's try this out. Let's go to support.lenovo.com. I'll share the screen with you here in just a minute. Let me just first get it set up. And yeah, I think we can share the screen now. Does that work? It did work. All right, so what do we got? A PC, yeah. Select a product family, parts lookup. I suppose we'll just say detect product. No, I can't do that. This is the streamer. That's not gonna work. View PC support. Let's see. And I'll just take necessary cookies. Browse product. So we have a workstation. Sure, we'll call it a workstation. Select the series. It says it's got a 1 terabyte drive and 4 gigs of RAM. Made in Mexico. Usually there's a serial number lookup. Wonder what happens if there's. I'm used to Dell and HP. Select other methods. Can I? Here, help me find my product serial number. Use command. Oh, this is where you can find the serial number. So if we booted up to this Lenovo, we could just do it all internally, right through the website. Please enter the name or serial number. Oh, I just put it in right here. I just have to read what's on the damn screen. MJ0 B8GRM. Let's see what we got ourselves here. Nothing. This is an idea center. Let's do it this way. This is an idea center 310S-08 ASR. How you like me now? It's got a BIOS for Windows 10. So yeah, this will run Windows 10, but with 4 gigs of RAM. And I'm not sure how many processors were in this family. Maybe there was just one. I wonder if there's specs, how-tos, downloads, community, categories. Wow, there's a lot of content on this model. Memory upgrade. What is this? That's what I'm looking for right there. Now see here, it says to enter my serial number. MJ. Maybe that's an O. MJOB. 8GRM. Change that O to a 0. We found it. This is us right here. This is this exact machine. Out of warranty, what a shock. Drivers and software, troubleshoot. Should be like a specifications page on how this was built. Spec info. Boy, I'll tell you, they do put it there, but it's not in my face like I'm used to. It's an A9 9425 AMD CPU. It has one memory module, but it does have 2 slots. So when it says ×1, they're referring to how it was spec'd with just 1 slot. Despite having a Windows, pretty sure I saw a Windows 8 sticker. It says it came with Windows 10 Home. That is definitely a sticker that says Windows 8. Oh, maybe that's a Windows with a little trademark R. Let me take a picture with my phone so I can zoom in on that and take a better look. Story of my life as I'm getting older. Let's see. Oh, it's the registered trademark. It's none of number 8. So there you go. It did come with Windows 10 Home. Unusual for a business class machine, but maybe these were sold at Best Buy. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. And they're not telling, you know, it's not going to tell me its backstory. It's like when you find a stray dog. What's your story, buddy? They kind of keep it secret. They won't tell you. It's kind of rude. Yeah, some part of this mechanism that holds this appears to be broken or off the track. Anyway, yeah, these are our specs. It had a 1-year mail-in warranty, and its end of service was almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. That's a long service life, really, though. 6 years? I'd say it's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, this one could be put to use for Windows 10. I wouldn't, but you could. And if I pick this up with this door open, you can see the motherboard a lot better now. Not a whole lot there. There's not a whole lot worth saving. Remember, if we're dealing with really high-end machines from when this was built, they're probably worth continuing to use. But when we get to this level of hardware, where when it was new, it wasn't even that good, it's definitely not gotten better. This isn't wine or cheese. And me complaining about it is. Okay. Not a whole lot there. No power supply, no video card. Everything, you know, 1 stick of 4 gigs of RAM. There's your Wi-Fi card right there. Right over there is your Wi-Fi card. And, you know, it got the job done. It really wasn't anything special when it was new, and it definitely isn't anything special today. Does it still work? It probably still works fine, I would imagine. That doesn't mean it's a good reason to use it. But there could be other purposes, you know, use case scenarios for a machine like this that don't involve Windows. Maybe a Proxmox server or a media streamer or something where you don't want to spend a lot of money. And you can pick up machines like this at recycling centers for probably $10. I mean, I'm not gonna, don't quote me on the price. The prices are up to Emerald Computers, but if I had to guess, this is probably $10. That's even if they would sell it. I'm not even sure it's worth selling, to be honest. I'm going to take this drive back out. And I want to see if I can get that little guy back on the truck. Not that it matters if it's going to the scrapyard, but it's bugging me. And you could probably see it a lot better now. What I'm looking at here is this spring right here. And this was what was locking me in. The spring is attached to a bar, and this bar is supposed to move up and down. And as you can see, that bar is not supposed to move away like that. It shouldn't fall out of a track. It should stay within its track. And it looks like there's two, or we could just take it out altogether, to be honest. This is the piece that's giving me all my grief. Right here. This is your spring. And then this is your locking mechanism that slides in and out. And so you'll see there's two notches cut out. And there's two pieces. And you can see how easy this is to manufacture. A machine just punches this. And then the machine punches it the opposite way here, so that when you put this in, these two square holes align with the two square notches. There's the top one and the bottom one, and that's what keeps it in place. And then the spring is what keeps it retracted, so that way when we push the button, it's temporarily retracted. And then as soon as we let go of the button, the spring pulls it back into the locked position. And then when you go to close it, it should spring automatically back to open as it feels there should be some kind of lever or something that slides it back as it's closing. And then when it's closed, it slides forward again and lets the spring go. It's that easy. I mean, there's nothing really that ingenious involving that design. It's overly simplistic. Now, on the other hand, you could keep it out, right? And it's still gonna lock in. See, like that? It's just that this side is now loose. But so what? You still have to release over here. No one would ever know the difference. So you don't even have to put that back in, honestly. I mean, I like to do things right, and that would be, you know, the right way to do it. But this gives you an idea of what are some of the random computers, and by the way, this is purely random, that people bring in to drop off to say, look, we don't want to sell this. We know it has no value, but it's taking up space, and we know we're not supposed to put it into the garbage dump. It's not good for the environment. Now, if you had to charge people to take in their stuff, they probably wouldn't pay anything because it's free to throw it in the trash and to hell with the environment. That's the American way of thinking. But if you say, if a place like Emerald Computer says, we'll take whatever you got, bring it in, no charge, the only exception would be a glass tube TV, because the Arizona government charges a $15 environmental fee on those. So if the glass tube TV works and Emerald Computers can resell it to a collector, they'll take it, no charge. But if the glass tube TV doesn't work, then Emerald Computers has to pay $15 to take your TV off your hands. They have to pay that to the Arizona government. So Emerald Computers says, look, just give us the $15 environmental fee. We'll take care of the rest. Now, where somebody might pay to get rid of a computer would be an office that filed for bankruptcy or is upgrading all of their equipment, and they need to get rid of the old equipment. One way or another, they're paying somebody to haul what could be tons of computers. but I'm talking about weight. There could be 200-300 computers. No employee is going to stick that in the trunk of their car and make one trip. So you're either paying that employee to keep loading up their car. Maybe you've got a company vehicle and you got to pay a couple of employees to load up the van and take it over to somewhere like Emerald, and they'll take it all for free. On the other hand, when you have a certain minimum amount of electronics recycling, Emerald Computers will come and pick it up for free. But you've got to have like 1,500 pounds or more, I think. And yeah, that's part of their service because it's worth it to them. The scrap weight material alone more than covers their expenses for that. And if there's anything good in there that they can repurpose or even use for donor parts to fix something else, you know, you don't know what you're getting when you get those deals. So they do offer that service where it's financially feasible to do that. And a lot of this people don't think about. Regular home users, they never really think about how many computers has your bank gone through since you've been a customer of your bank. You know, if you're Wells Fargo, if you're, you know, any of these big conglomerate banks, how often do you think they change their computers? And what happens to the old ones? So a lot of times these computers are leased, and then when the lease runs out, it's time to replace them. And the leasing company usually arranges for pickup, and that's all built into the price of the lease. But then what does the leasing company do with them? Generally, the drives have to be erased, and whether or not that's up to the company's responsibility or the leasing company's responsibility depends on the contract of the deal. And then the leasing company might refurbish them or sell them to a refurbisher by the pallet. You're not just going to buy one or two. You're going to buy one or two pallets at least and have some kind of place where a big truck can back up and use a forklift to unload the pallets. So you're not shipping it to your house. Not unless you have that ability at your house. I suppose you could, but don't know too many people that have a forklift in their garage. So it's really intended for bulk resellers, refurbishers, and then those resellers, refurbishers will go through whatever they bought, because oftentimes you're not even sure what you got or the condition of it. Take the best of the best, clean them up, and then maybe put them for sale on Amazon, maybe eBay, and then they honor their own warranty. That's between them and the next buyer. Other times they go, well, the rest of these, we can't use them, they're scrap. Then that would go over to Emerald Computers. And that's sort of the lifestyle chain of how this is all going together that most people are completely unaware of. Now, I knew this process, but I did not know Emerald Computers existed. And they've been in business over 20 years. And just down the street here from Studio C, I wish I'd known about them earlier. So I had been going way out of my way to recycle materials when I just had to go down the street this whole time. And Jason's a great guy, the owner over there. And there's always new inventory coming in every day. And there's about 1,000 computers leaving his facility every month, either because they've been refurbished and resold, or the bulk of which is going to be sold by the pound for scrap material. And it has to be separated out. So like I said, they're going to take all the drives out. The drives get separated out as scrap material. Mechanical drives like this one go to a separate recycling handler. The scrap material of the cases go to a metal recycler. The motherboards, depending on what it is, like a laptop, that would generally, like this laptop, this computer and its motherboard would stay and go to the metal recycler. And the metal recycler will pull the circuit board. But there are other recyclers that are strictly electronics recyclers, and they want to strip the gold and valuable metals off of these circuit boards. They put them in a chemical acid. It strips the metals away. And then, you know, you do that at scale, and you can build up quite a bit of gold. I saw a YouTube video where a guy was just doing it for fun, and he was taking old computers and getting all the scrap metal off. And after, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of computers, but he had enough gold pieces and dust. He melted that down and made a little gold coin out of it. I mean, it wasn't anything like he did overnight. This was like a long-term thing, and then he finally had enough gold he could melt down and turn into like a medallion or a coin, and he did. And he's like, I wonder how many of these coins I can make. And he just has fun with it. But most people do it for a living. It's an operational business in recycling. And whether you're on the scrapyard side or the refurbishing side, it's a fascinating business to get into. And if you're a tinkerer and you like projects but you don't have a lot of money, going to these places, you can often find little gems that other people just don't see any value in. You might look at it differently. And a lot of times, the owners of these companies don't necessarily have set prices for things because there's so much variety and inconsistency with models and configurations. It's very often, most of the time, a negotiation where you say, how much do you want for this? You say, I don't know, give me 40 bucks. Would you take 20? You know, look, if the warehouse is stacked up, they're busy as hell, they'll probably say, yeah, you just get it out of here. We'll take the 20 bucks. On the other hand, if it's a smaller recycler and they don't have the pressure of so much material coming and going, they might not be so negotiable. So be prepared. Not everybody is as negotiable as Emerald is, and Emerald won't be as negotiable on items in high demand. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? But I was there and I watched him negotiate with a customer over an older system, a vintage system they wanted. Not many people have any desire to have a vintage computer, but these people, it meant something to them and they wanted to fix it up. And they were asking, he was asking about, I don't know, I don't remember, 60 bucks or something. They asked him if he'd take 40. And he seemed like, geez, it's, you know, we all know it's worth more than 40. And they're like, yeah, but, you know, we're going to fix it. We're going to bring it back to life. And that was all he needed to hear. Okay, well, in that case, I'll let you have it. They weren't somebody that was trying to scrap it for parts. They wanted to fix this thing up, bring it back to life. And he could sense that passion, and he wanted to help them with that. I don't want to call it a dream, but it's kind of like that. Because you're not going to run into these vintage computers that often. So you see one, it's pretty special. If you put a lot of money into buying it, and then you find out you have to put more money into making it work, you don't know that until after you bought it. So it makes sense they want to get it really cheap. Best case scenario is they don't have to do anything to it but blow the dust out of it and clean it. On the other hand, it could have missing parts or it could need a repair. They don't know. So you're rolling the dice. Jason's rolling the dice the longer he holds on to it. So those negotiations can often work in your benefit. And the worst that somebody could say is, no, I'm not going to, this is the price. It didn't hurt you to ask. But that's pretty much routine on all computer recyclers, just so you know. Let me get back over to the chat room here. Looks like our connection got stable. Martin says that's a soldered CPU. I do believe it is. Yeah, if it's a mobile CPU, it's soldered. Dazzle555 said no Windows 11 support. Nope. David Graham said add RAM, turn on, temporarily install Windows 11. No. Well, I don't know if you're talking about this, David. I'm popping into the middle of the chat room, so. Mark Chambers said the hard drive looks new. It doesn't look new to me. Let's take a look. See what there's a manufacturing date on here. Let's see what it says. (23rd of August, 2019). So this drive falls right in line with this, right? What year did we say this came out? Wasn't it? I've already forgotten. What year was it? Let me go back to my specs. The end of service was February 11th of 2023. And I don't see a release date, but we did look up the release date of the processor. And now that I know the exact processor, you know, you think you'd say if it was out of warranty, it would say when it was in, you know, when was the warranty date to beginning and ending. And I don't see the beginning day. But an AMD A9 9425 is our processor, and that release date, I think it would be 2016. So apparently the drive is newer. However, it does state it came with a 1 terabyte drive. So one of two things likely: either the machine was purchased 3 years after it was released. I don't know how many years Lenovo made this. So if Lenovo introduced this in 2016, did they sell it throughout 2019? And if so, whatever parts date the hard drives were with on the date it was built, this could be the original drive. However, they don't normally make the same model for that many years. It happens, but it's not that common. The other thing, and the more common and more likely, is that this was sold in 2016 or 2017. The original drive failed, was under warranty, and Lenovo sent out a replacement in 2019 or 2020. That would be my guess. And likely, this is a replacement of what was exactly in there. These are known to fail. All mechanical drives are just failure monsters, especially the smaller, older drives. The newer, the large 12 terabyte, 30 terabyte drives, those are much, much more reliable. However, again, we're looking at budget stuff here. The drives I'm talking about for NASA's and enterprise, they're built to be really abused, and they're expensive. The blues, these are basically budget drives to get the bare minimum done at the lowest possible price. They're not about reliability. If they were, they'd be Western Digital, well, maybe the black versions, which are faster and built stronger and cost more. But if they did that, then this machine would cost more. And if they did that, they wouldn't sell as many. And if they did that, they probably wouldn't be in business, or this model simply wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't have it in front of us today. So there's always the value consideration and what your customers are going to buy. And things like Western Digital blue or black or green, general customers don't give a rat's behind and don't know what it means and don't care. How much is it? That's almost universally what customers are looking at. And especially if you're deploying this in a business and you need 300, 400, or 500 of these, a $10 difference can make a massive difference in your budget. Mark Chambers says, yeah, it looks clean. It does look clean. In fact, it looks like somebody might have dusted this out, because normally in Arizona, a machine this old will have dust bunnies and all kinds of dust resting all over it, and this is clean all over. I do see some buildup on the fan blades here, but even the heatsink looks clean. So my guess is whoever owned it, maybe they have an air gun or something and they were spraying them out. Or maybe it was deployed in a hospital or something. Well, I've seen some pretty nasty machines at hospitals, but maybe it was in a clean room or something. I don't know. More than likely, someone dusted them out. In my experience, when companies are getting rid of computers, when it's time to retire them, they don't know which computers to retire until somebody opens them up and does an asset inventory of what they've got to differentiate what's the old stuff versus the new stuff. Most of the people in the company cannot tell you by looking at it. So it'll be somebody or a team job to go out and start inventorying all these computers and find all the ones that meet a certain requirement. And they may not be able to read what's inside without blowing out all the dust. Then they can look in and they can write down, whatever the asset tag is, and whether or not this is one to go or one to stay. And they'll go through every computer. We used to have to do that, and we would blow the machines out just so we can see them, to inventory them. A lot of times, companies, when you put asset tags, the asset tag may already have the specs, but sometimes the specs change where the IT department upgrades things based on company policies without updating the asset tag. So what we end up doing a lot of times is visual inspection, and especially machines like this where it's a simple pop off the cover. But then if everything's covered in dust and you can't read anything, you got to blow it out. Well, then you've blown it out and you realize it's got to go to the recycler, and you just cleaned it for the recycler. That's probably what happened here. I'm making a lot of assumptions, but based on what I'm seeing, this is very familiar. Yeah, Martin mentions they can pull copper from heat sinks off of these boards, as well as copper from the metal tracing. Yeah, it's not just gold. Like I said, there's other precious metals involved with computers. I was using gold as the example because in this video, and what you'll often hear people talk about who want to do this, you know, to leach the metal off of the board, is usually the discussion is gold. But there are other even more expensive precious metals. They just use less of it. So your likelihood of building up anything, you know, enough to do something with, you'd have to go through, you know, probably 10,000 boards to so much as get a gram. The jewelry cleaners do the same thing. If you go to a jewelry cleaner, you know, they have those stores that say, we'll clean your jewelry for free. Come on into the jewelry shop, and while you're here, if you want, you can take off your ring and we'll clean it for you, no charge. Part of the cleaning process is going to rub some of the precious metal off of your ring. You can't clean it. I mean, there's no other way to do it. And then you get your ring back and it looks like brand new. And you're like, wow, that's free? Yeah. What you don't know is they've got a little filter in the machine that does the cleaning, and it's collecting all the gold that's coming off. It's probably flaking off. It would have come off anyway. And sometimes the polishing that they do to make your ring really shine may take a little bit of that gold off. And it collects. And over a period of a month or two, you're going to get a little bit of gold dust. You can take that gold dust and melt it down. And so that's why jewelry shops do that for free. You're not going to do much with 1 or 2 rings. But if you deal with customers coming in all day, every day, and you're a busy shop, you might have to empty that filter out about every month or so. And that builds up. So yeah, it's good for you. You get a free ring cleaning. It's good for them. They get the little dust particles and they collect it until they have enough to do something with it. Everybody wins. Recycle is more than likely blanking the drives. No, I can tell you we've had this discussion. If you've not seen our interview with Jason at Emerald Computers, I'm not even sure if we got to this part of the interview edited and published yet, but he's very clear. Drives are never, that is a solid, non-negotiable company policy. Drives are never blanked out. Drives are physically destroyed. Completely and physically destroyed. And I think there's a good reason for this. So you got the public side of the thing, right, where you're like, hey, you don't have to worry about your data ever falling into anybody's hands because we're going to destroy your drive. Right on. In fact, many recyclers will run a drill press right through the drive in front of the customer if the customer requests, or will take the drive out and give the drive back to the customer if they want it, no charge. That's a pretty common thing. Once you've run a drill press through this drive, it doesn't matter if they're lying to you because they're not going to reuse that drive. So while you have an active imagination in the real world of recycling, it's not a joke. They actually make more money recycling these drives by destroying them and reusing the material than the cost of labor to blank them out and reinstall them, and with no warranty. Then somebody buys, let's say you were foolish enough to professionally run a business that did that. What you're going to end up with are customers, a certain percentage of customers, who end up with drives that fail days after purchase, maybe even the same day, because the drives are old, and you just beat the crap out of them, securely erasing them. The second thing that happens, if word gets out that that's what you're doing, you might find yourself on the news with a pissed off customer filing a class action lawsuit. So this isn't a joke. There's nobody getting away with anything, because if you were to do that, you would make less money. It would cost you money in both warranty, support, plus the time and labor. To clean a drive, it takes several hours. And if you're dealing with 1,000 computers a month, there's not enough hours in the month to clean them. On the other hand, you sell them by the pound to a professional scrap metal recycling yard.
and you will make more money doing that. You'll speed up the amount of inventory you can go through. You reduce your labor cost so your techs can work on things that actually make you money. And you secure the customer's peace of mind, right? The confidence that their data's not going anywhere. That drive is destroyed. It's not even possible. What if you found out that your secured erase wasn't as secure as you thought it was, and somebody's data gets out? You're out of business. You're done. You can just pack your bags, close your shop. The government, if that gets reported to like Department of Justice or the Federal Trade Commission, let alone your own liabilities, well, you're done. So, yeah, no one's. If you want to be in business and you want to stay in business, there's no part of that makes any sense why you would repurpose a drive. Some small little computer shop guy in the corner working out of his garage will do that, but not a professional recycler. That's something you can only get away with for a little period of time. Just give it time, it's going to come back to bite you. Even if it's nothing more than the drive failing days after sale, because it's old. You don't know how much life is left on this. It's got no warranty. And the customer, all they know is, I bought a computer from you, you said you refurbished it, it broke in 2 days. Is your customer just going to say, give me my money back? I don't trust you anymore. Or is your customer going to say, that's okay, you can take the time and the labor to take the drive out, put another drive in, reinstall the software, put the drivers back in, and give it back to me? How does that make any sense for anybody? So rest assured, that's just not a thing. It doesn't, the logic of it doesn't work. Todd says, do I wipe out hard drives before you toss them? Well, I don't toss drives, I recycle them. And before I recycle them, I have a tool, which I've demonstrated here multiple times, but if you're new, or maybe you don't see all my content, I'll show it to you. It's called the Drive Erasure, and it is a professional data sanitizer, hard drive sanitizer, that prints out the type of sanitizing that was done, the date, and certifies it for government regulation. So if a bank came to me and said, hey, we have 50 drives we need securely erased because we want to recycle them, I could quote them a price to do that for them. And then if they say, well, how do we know you really did it? I have a receipt printer that plugs into this with all the official certifications of the date, the time, the type of erase that was done, depending on what government regulations it's got to meet. So this is the Drive Erasure. This is what this does. On a big scale, like when I worked at Intel, we had this giant machine that all hard drives went into if they were leaving the building. That was it had a conveyor belt, and it was a huge magnet, and it just scattered any magnetism on the drive. So it did this without damaging the drive. And the guy I worked with, he was in a chain link cage, we call it a cage, across the hallway from me, and I used to joke around. His name was Brent, great guy. And part of Brent's job was that anything going out the building for like recycling, or even if a drive failed, it needed to go back for warranty, it had to go through this machine. And so Brent's job, part of his job, was to take these drives, run them through the conveyor belt, almost like cooking a pizza, Domino's or something. It goes in on a conveyor belt, or Little Caesar's pizza, and comes out the other side, done. And then you just take that and you have the serial number. He has to do his paperwork. It gets certified that it was run through, and then it can leave the building. It's no joke. It's done very seriously. This is a much smaller scale. This does one drive at a time, which is all I care about. It does not plug into the computer. You just plug this in somewhere, plug your drive into it, and then you securely erase it. And it gives you a percentage, and it asks you right away what kind of an erase you want to perform. There are different standards in different countries. So here on the front of the box, it'll tell us, usually it'll tell us, because this is sold in the US, the UK, in Europe, and in Australia, it meets all those individual government requirements for, like, in the USA, Department of Defense has a recommended wipe technology for anything that has to follow those regulations. This abides by that. Australia has their own,
and Europe and the UK have their own government regulatory requirements. Some companies must abide by those. And then it just has something called a quick erase. Now, the quick erase is probably about 2 hours, but for most people, most individuals, most small businesses, the quick erase, you're never going to get anything back. Even any data recovery center cannot get it back. It's not possible. However, when it comes to government secrets, things about the government that, you know, they absolutely 100% need to be sure, then they have their overkill. So it might have to wipe and erase the drive 3 or 4 times. Overwrite, erase, overwrite, erase, overwrite, erase. It's ridiculous and stupid, because after the first one, you're not going to get it back. But you never know if the drive falls into the hands of your enemies, what technology your opposing governments might have. That might be possible. And then that's when you get into drive destruction. And drive destruction is really cool. It's really, really cool to watch. You essentially, for mechanical drives, you have 2 rotating gears with teeth, and you just drop the drive in it, and it sucks it in and just shatters and shreds it all out. Then it just comes out as scraps. You can just pick it up with your hands, and you have hard drive bits. Different kind of bits that are on it now. With solid state drives, you usually don't need a machine that big. With solid state drives, you can often use a common cross-cut paper shredder, and it depends if you got a good paper shredder. It'll cross-cut just like a piece of paper. Nobody's ever going to get anything back off that drive ever again. And if the value of the data is worth more than the value of the drive, it's a very easy decision to make, because it's fast. In both cases, physically destroying the drive is almost instantaneous. Versus this, you know, a quick erase is probably going to be, on a 1 terabyte drive, yeah, 90 minutes, I would guess, maybe 2 hours. And all I do is I plug the drive into this, plug this into the wall. I'll just hit enter on the default quick erase. It'll start checking the drive, and it will give me a percentage and an estimated time remaining. Then I can go do other things. I usually just plug it in and leave it on the floor. As I walk by, I glance down. It'll say it's done. Do you want to print your label? I don't hook up the label printer. I don't need it for most jobs. I just turn the machine off. There's got a little on-off switch. Wait for the drive to spin down. The drive gets pretty warm. Let it spin down. Disconnect it and move it into a sanitized pile. Then I take them into recycling. So yeah, this guy right here, drive eraser. And in my video library, I've demonstrated this a number of times. Now, if I were to choose like a Department of Defense wipe, or, you know, Australia's defense wipe, it could take all day. But if that's what a company wants to pay me to do, it's another way I can make money. It's very easy, but you got to have the tools. I can't be a mechanic offering you a front end alignment on your car if I don't have a $2,000 front end, well, whatever it costs, a tool specifically designed to do front end alignments on your car, and the knowledge on how to use that tool. It's an easy way for a mechanic to make money, but if you don't have the tool, it ain't happening. Then you're just guessing. Ah, those tires look about right. See how that works out. Channel 0 said, I heard the United States military uses old hard drives for target practice. I don't know. I mean, if you're going to throw the drive into a shredder anyway, what difference does it make if you shoot it first? Maybe that's a rumor. Maybe it's true they shoot them. I don't know. Don't really care. So in any event, this is a very valuable tool for me. It's not a service I do very often, but I like having the option. So if a customer is getting rid of something and they're worried about the data, and they say, what can we do about the data? I say, well, we can do a couple of things. One, I can remove the drive
I'll recycle the computer for you if that's what you want. And I'll take it to Emerald and drop it off. Doesn't cost me anything. If you want the drive out of it, I can take the drive out right now where we're waiting and hand it to you. If you want me to sanitize the drive, I'll take it back and I can sanitize it and I can print a receipt out and send it to you so you have an official certification proving the drive was sanitized. Or if you want, just hold on to the whole thing, stick it in a closet somewhere. Whatever you want to do. It's nice to offer the customer options. And whatever the customer is more comfortable with. Customer might say, look, I just don't want it in the building. Like, we don't have any room for this stuff. I don't want to hold on to it. Another customer might say, I don't want this out of the building. The data is too sensitive. Handing me the drive, just, I don't know, how am I going to do with it? I won't know what it is. So just leave it in the computer and let's just put the computer away until such a time that it's so old that we don't care about the data anymore. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. And then sometimes you get the customer that goes, I've got a closet full of computers from 1995 and they're IDE hard drives, you know, and I want them out of here. Do you worry about the data on them? No, it doesn't matter anymore. That's 30 years. It doesn't matter. Just get them out because they're huge. They're taking up space. And now it doesn't matter because after 30 years, they're probably getting ready to retire or sell the business and they don't care anymore. So one way or another, we get them. But one way or another, they go to the recycle yard. Those IDE drives are definitely not going to be repurposed. All right. Do you have any other questions? Those are great questions, by the way. I appreciate you guys asking them. Nick C. joins us in the chat, says hello from California. Welcome in, Nick. Chat room's pretty quiet today. Let's see, since everything's quiet, set this down over here. That back later. Like I said, we really don't have to put this back in, but I'm in a mood. This is gonna go, suppose it'll go this way, right? That's my hook right there. That's got to stick out of this side right there. So I know that kind of helps me understand which way this has to go in. And I know the little square pieces, the little square notches have to go which way. Like I said, this is probably all going in the recycling yard anyway, so whether or not I repair it, it's probably all for nothing, but mostly just because nobody's asking me any questions. I'm going to do something while I'm waiting. I can't sit still. I wish I had another one to look at, just so I can determine if it goes this way or this way. This way? Or does the notch go the other way? I'm also trying to figure out where this spring was attached, because I don't see an attachment for it down here. Oh, well, it would have attached here. on one side, but where did it attach on this side? I might have to play this video back and look how I took it out. Or Lenovo or somebody on YouTube has probably already covered this. I don't see an obvious hook for this other loop on the spring. Usually there's a bent piece of metal or, I don't know, something. Let's see. It's definitely not going to go in that way. Maybe the spring went on the hook. Maybe that's what that's for. Maybe this is the tab that sticks out, and I'm just remembering it wrong. That makes more sense. I'm sure that's the way it was. And then this piece would go in. See? I'll figure it out. Just give me a few days, and the obvious will become clear to me. Okay, that slid in, and then see if we get some needle nose pliers we can pull down on the spring and get it hooked to the other side. Probably should have hooked it to the other side first. Now I'm not sure how I can get to that. Yeah, I think this other side has to go on first. So we'll hook it onto the front. See, I love reverse engineering stuff. That to me is way more fun. That's my version of a video game. And somebody's showing you how to do it. It's kind of like a walkthrough. It's kind of like cheating. Where's the fun in that? So much for the tool, just using my fingers, huh? Oops. Okay, got the spring on that side. I'll hook the spring over here. I can do that without unhooking the other side. Apparently not. Okay. This may be something I'm just better off doing with my hands, quite honestly. It went on pretty easy with my fingers. Just can't see it too well. And I'm sure if I have done this a few times, I could probably do it without looking. It does look really simple. There's one side. Nope, came off again. Come on. Okay. Just need a way to hold it there. Don't go anywhere. Darn it, you went somewhere. Try it one more time. Kind of like riding a bicycle, you know, might fall off the bike a few times when you're learning. But then after you've done it some more, and you've done it some more, you don't even think about it. So for my first time, or for your first time, give yourself permission to make stupid mistakes. Give yourself permission to learn. If you're doing something the hard way, how do you know? I'm having such a hard time with this. It's a simple hook, Carey. You know, I might be getting in my own way. In retrospect, maybe it is easier to do this end first and then do the second half. Seems like one side will go on easy and the other side doesn't want to go on at all. Lighting and clear vision are key. That does not want to go on there. And there, I just slid it over it with ease. It just came off with ease, too. I'm looking to see if the loops are the same size on both sides. They certainly appear to be. Just got to get the right angle on that bad boy. Most riveting YouTube video ever made. And you can say you were here to witness it. Now, in all likelihood, to be honest with you, they usually have specialty tools for this. And something like this may be like a spreading tool, or even so much as something like a pick that has a severe bend in it that we can put through the spring. Just that these picks have really sharp edges, but they're really thin, and that enables us to not have the tool, you know, narrow the opening where the piece it's supposed to slip into won't fit with the tool in the way. So it's got to be a really narrow tool like this. Unfortunately, they can't really see very well, can they?
No, however, I have to throw in my opinion and tell you, I love this. Awesome.
What do you love?
What you're doing. I think it's great.
Oh, you just like watching me work?
You know, you're geeking out, and that's the way into my heart.
Well, I wonder if I hook it on here first and I use this little tool, if that will actually be the secret sauce here. Can I grab it? Such a simple little thing to do, but the way they've got it, such a tight fit. I'm not going to be able to get at it that way. Also, the angle on this pick is a bit strong for this. I think I have one. Yeah, this has a much gentler angle. That might actually be better. But I also, you know, I've had best luck using my fingers. You see, with my fingers, I can feel it. With the tool, I can't feel what's going on. About 2 tools. Well, now I've done it. Now it's in way past where it's supposed to be. At least I can see. Oh, I was almost on it and it shot right off. That's hilarious. All for a piece that doesn't even matter. Where did it shoot off to? Oh, right here. I'm probably being too gentle with the spring. Maybe I just need to pull up on the spring enough to give me enough slack to get around one of these hooks. Maybe that's the secret, is I'm just not being, not putting enough brute force on this. That's my theory. Being too gentle. There's probably some easy thing, some easy technique, and people that work on these will be laughing. What the hell is this guy doing? He doesn't know. This is mechanical work, not electrical work. I can't make up my mind if the bottom one is easier to put on or the top one. So I'm going to just try something. I'm going to use some brute force here. And it goes right on. So I was just being way too gentle with it, which is what I suspected. Especially when I'm working with hardware that isn't mine, I'm not really so much in a hurry. If the hardware is not familiar to me, I don't want to break anything through impatience. Especially in professional work where you're going to be held accountable for the you break it, you bought it kind of scenario, the paying for the repair. Which means if I damage parts, not only am I doing the work for free, I'll be buying those replacement parts. When a customer's paying me for service, one of the reasons they pay me is for the reassurance I know what I'm doing and I'm not going to break anything. So when I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to be very slow and very cautious. That works out for me most of the time. And sometimes, like just now, I realized that because I was being so cautious, I wasn't able to complete my task until I sort of threw caution to the wind. I put a little bit more force into it. But that's not where I start. I build to that. And I do everything I can in the most gentlest way possible until at such a point I realize there's just no way. You're just going to have to pull that spring out a little bit. And it's gone back into shape. I didn't stretch it out or anything. So now this mechanism should work properly. There we go. And if we close this lid back down, try something here. Cables going. This should open and close smoothly. Now it's working like it's supposed to. There's still a little bit of force there. And again, you're going to see over and over again that when I'm real gentle with things I'm not familiar with, you might see me, you know, kind of struggle with it. When somebody gets really familiar, like take a brand new car, you might be real gentle on how you close your car doors. You don't want to slam them. But after you've owned a car for a while, you know what I mean? Like you close the door and it's not quite all the way closed, and you have to open it again and close it again because you were too gentle. That's what's going on here. And then after you get familiar with the car and you don't think about it, it's not so special to you anymore. You just slap it down. It locks in perfectly. But I can say that now that I've become familiar with it. Now I see what the problem is. You got to close that like a car door. And then remember the struggle we had getting this side out. Now when I push this lever down, and there's also quite a bit of force to open it, but that side's not sticking anymore. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to. Perfect. I didn't know that, and you wouldn't want to do that to a mini PC. All right, but these industrial grade machines, they're built like tanks. So oftentimes you don't need any tools to open them. As you've seen, like removing the drive is super easy. You want to put the drive back in, you just have to. Also, this hasn't been opened in a while, and it's probably, you know, tightened up, or it was never loose to begin with. If it had never been opened or opened a handful of times in its whole life, it wouldn't have loosened up. So if we come back over to the drive, this is the connector for the optical drive. We can plug that back in. And then here's data. And power. As I go on backwards. Drive must have to go in this way. That makes more sense. You plug your two cables in. Make sure your cables are through this opening here. Align the drive. Start putting it in the drive slot. You'll see no tools. Something's in my way over here. Maybe you got to put that whole side in first. Yeah, I think it's getting hung up on its own cables. Right there. And that's locked in. And again, you'll get familiar with these models in corporate America as you work on them all the time. And then you're going to be so much faster as a tech. One of the problems that occurs, though, is sometimes people don't understand working on computers, you know, depending on what position they were hired for at the company. And then they get promoted, let's say, from answering the phones to doing the work. And they know all the company's computer equipment like the back of their hand, but they don't know anything else. So sometimes an employee might say, hey, can you help me with my home computer? To the IT guy who says no. And there's usually two reasons for this. One, they don't know how to work on your home computer. They only know how to work on the computers they were trained on. Anything outside of that, they don't have any experience with. That's pretty common. And so they might be a genius at work when it comes to computers and a complete moron at work, or a complete moron at home when it comes to working on their own computer or somebody else's computer. The second thing is they're doing this all day, they're sick of it, and they just don't want to do it after hours. They're just done, like burned out. Those are your two main reasons employees in your IT department may not want to say, hey, after hours, can I bring my computer in from home and you can fix it? The common misconception is that if you know how to work on computers, you know how to work on all computers. It's pretty rare in IT that you have somebody, especially the longer they've been there, because if you're not working on home computers and you're not up to all the latest changes and trends, home computers have liquid coolers and RGB and all this other stuff that business computers don't have. They may require a ton of different tools to open things up, different requirements. Like if somebody's got a custom loop or something like that, you're not going to have the skills and the knowledge to know how to work on that. But the longer you work at a particular company, the better you get to know their family of computers they use, where you can practically work on it blindfolded. So the impression is, wow, this guy's really good with computers. But the truth is, that person, male or female, I say guy, but I don't mean anything by it, they're just familiar with our computers. Nobody else is. And it's often misconstrued that they're all kind of the same. If you can work on the computers at work, can you work on my computers at home? And quite often the answer is no. Whether they just don't want to, or more than likely, in my experience, and especially if they've been working in a company a long time, they have no idea how to work on your home computer. They wouldn't know where to begin. Rick Legs joins us and says hello. There's Brad Rawlings joining us here in the chat. Aretas Pillay says hello from Singapore. Welcome in. Don't get too many viewers from Singapore. I'd like to see more. Tell your friends. Barry Klein said, I've asked you a question via email. Oh, let me check the phone. Been sort of tied up with a spring. Thank you for reminding me, or making me aware. I didn't know. Our friend Charlie sends an Amazon gift card for Super Chat. Thank you, Charlie. No, I don't have anything from you, Barry. If your question was from yesterday, it was answered yesterday. You should have already received a response. Maybe it's in your spam folder. I don't see anything from you today. Unless Mara hasn't forwarded it to me. Mara? Hang on, I gotta yell.
From yesterday, and he already got his answer.
Okay, so he's referring to yesterday's email that you responded.
That's correct.
Okay, so you should have it, Barry.
He did.
No, he says I've already asked
He said
you.
he's waiting on delivery. He was talking about his question.
He's waiting on delivery of what?
The question from yesterday. Don't you remember what the question was?
He's waiting on delivery
of something you ordered.
Oh, he ordered something.
Correct.
Oh, I misunderstood that entirely. Well, thank you for clarifying that for me. I thought he was waiting on a delivery for a response. Okay. Frank wants to know, can we upgrade this desktop as a NAS? Well, you really only have one hard drive spot in there, right? And you really don't need a computer to run a NAS. It depends what you want the NAS to do, but you pretty much have a USB port on the back of modern day routers, and you can go buy yourself like a 20 plus terabyte external USB drive and plug it in the back of your router and use that as your file sharing NAS. Some routers even have DLNA servers built into them, so if you wanted like Plex or Jellyfin, it's built already into your router. unless you bought a cheap router or you're using the router from your internet service provider, which is a cheap router. NASs are so inexpensive today, especially if you're looking at TerraMaster and others. What I don't think people consider, somebody might say, for example, I only buy used cars. I don't like to pay the excessive amount that a car costs when you drive it off the lot and it immediately is worth several $1,000s less. So I buy a used car. Well, that doesn't always work out. Depending on how old the used car is and how it was treated by the previous driver and any unknown history about the car, you could be buying a financial nightmare that'll cost you way more than a new car. Whether it's lack of warranty. The reason why somebody traded it back in, you don't know why. Did they trade the car in simply because they just grew less fond of it? Or did they trade the car in because it was going in for service more often than they were driving it? Under warranty or otherwise, they're done with it regardless. Now it's your problem. And the older the car is, more than likely, more often, it's going to break more often. It's going to be less gas mileage. And even if the car got new, much better gas mileage when it was new, depending on how many miles are on it and how it was treated, the engine loosens up. It may need some well overdue and hidden maintenance. The transmission's not as efficient. So you end up pouring more money into the gasoline and into the maintenance on a used car that cost you less than if you would have bought the new car with the warranty, with the higher mileage, miles per gallon. And you end up tricking your brain into thinking you save money when in fact your operational costs over time, like if you think of it like a Venn diagram, on day one you save money, but on year 3 you're now spent more money in the last 3 years on the used car with the number of gallons of gas you buy and the amount of maintenance you've done out of warranty, let's say, compared to paying the price of a new car and not having any of those expenses. The tires on a used car could be nearing replacement. That can be $1,000 or more just for tires. New cars got new tires on it. All of these examples. And the older the car is, the less efficiency it's going to have, the more wear and tear it's going to have, and the more likely it's going to break, and the more likely it's going to have no warranty. So for a certain period of time, depending on how good the car is running, maybe buying the used car saves you money. But if you continue to hold on to that car, it starts costing more and more over time. In which case, it'll cost you more over the same period of years than the brand new one if you had just bought a brand new car. So it's tricking your brain into thinking you're saving, but what you're doing is you're just making smaller payments more often. Well, the same can be true with a desktop using it as a NAS, because when you use a desktop as a NAS, you are going to eat up a lot more power, require more desk space. It's going to be louder. It's probably going to be louder. You need a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor to use it. And it's going to cost you more in electricity to use it. So if you're just using it for a short period of time, you probably don't notice it. But if you use it for years and years and years, you will probably give your electric company more money than what would have bought you a modern day NAS that is quieter, runs cooler, and is designed for that task. And if you want to throw used drives, use hard drives into it, again, you're probably going to be suffering a lot of hard drive failures much more frequently than if you just put brand new drives in it. Buy once, cry once, and have the thing run for years, trouble-free, sipping power, taking little desk space, no keyboard, no mouse, no monitor, and it's damn near guaranteed. As far as like, you're just not going to have problems with it. But the minute you start repurposing old hardware, you're going to introduce problems sooner rather than later, and they'll never stop. You get your first problem, and then you'll get your second problem. Then you'll get your third problem, and it might take a certain amount of time to get to problem number 1, and maybe an equivalent or similar amount of time to problem number 2. And then that time compresses down, and problem number 3, 4, 5, 6. At some point, you're going to be like, I never want to own a NAS again. I'll say, why? Oh, they're terrible. They're unreliable. What kind of NAS did you have? Oh, I built it myself from old parts. Well, it's like I'm never going to cook again. Well, what were you cooking? Oh, I was cooking some old food that'd been in a refrigerator for the last 6 weeks. So the problem isn't what you're doing, it's the ingredients you're using are terrible ingredients. You're not going to make a 5-star meal using spoiled and rotten ingredients. That's the same here. You can, nobody's going to stop you, but it's a profoundly unwise decision. And the consequences will only affect you, and you will probably walk away with a false conclusion that NASs are terrible, when in fact it was your NAS that was terrible, the decisions you made were terrible, and your results were terrible. And when we change your attitude and get you to abide by the recommended, don't mess with this if it's important, get something nice that's decent, it doesn't have to be expensive, that has a warranty, and put new drives in it if it's important to you. And then you'll likely say, I've had a NAS 6 years, it never once had a problem, I've never had a failed drive. I don't know why I didn't do it earlier. Same guy, 2 different decisions. So I'm not telling you what decision to make. I am telling you what to expect based on what decision you make. That way you won't be surprised if and when exactly what I'm telling you happens. There's no dog in the race for me what you choose to do. I don't want you to be surprised. Be prepared if that's the decision you want to make. Whichever decision it is, you should expect certain consequences. You're not immune from it any more than the rest of us. But if you want to roll a dice and think, hey, maybe I'll get lucky, maybe you will. Good luck with that. When I use NASs for customers, for employees, not employees, for businesses that have employees, this is not a joke. Like, we don't want to try and cut every corner to try and scrap old parts. Because if that NAS goes down, the business goes down. The employees can't work, the customers can't get help, and red lights are blaring, red alert, all systems down. And then that's going to ruin my day because I have to stop what I'm doing as though I were a fireman and a fire just broke out, and I've got to contain the fire before too much more damage is costing this company money. So from my perspective as a professional IT technician, this sort of idea of repurposing something like this for anything important, but if you're just looking for a project and you don't care if it breaks, have fun. This stuff's cheap. If you're making a home automation server and it breaks on you, so now your lights don't turn on when you say, hey, turn on lights. So what? You know what I mean? Like, the difference of when it goes down. There's either, hey, the building's on fire, or, oh, well, that sucks. Just be prepared and make your decision with that understanding, and that way you'll make the right decision for you. The Greenie said I sent you a little cool weather via email. Are you talking about the one we mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, or is this another one? I enjoyed it though. It'd be nice if you could upload those to YouTube because your files, the videos are so big. You're taking about 1 meg per second, or run it through Handbrake or something. That should be 90% smaller. I think you're taking the raw video off of a phone and you're not compressing it. And as such, it's awfully large to send via email. That kind of stuff you could upload directly out of your phone to your own YouTube channel, leave it unlisted and send me a link. And then you don't have any time limits. You don't have to break it into pieces and you don't have to handbrake it. But I appreciate it. I enjoy living vicariously through you because the temperature here today is what, 100 and something? What is it? 97, close enough. Seems like it's a lot warmer than what you in the video you showed earlier with frost on the grass outside. What is that? The frost? No, grass. What's grass? I live in Phoenix. Frank says, thank you, Carey. I won't do it. Again, Frank, I don't care if you do or not. Just be prepared. All good. All good. Barry Klein clarifying, I got your reply and got them ordered. I didn't know you could order that. I thought you had to go to the store and physically buy it with ID. Okay. Well, you'll have to let us know what you think. He's referring to some tequila recommendations that we were talking about with our good friend Scott Merrill, Ask Your Computer Guy, sort of has a nightly ritual, evening ritual with his wife with a shot of tequila
And I was a tequila aficionado a few years back. I think it was just a phase I was going through. And I'm still fond of it, but I very rarely drink anymore. And boy, I found some really nasty tequilas out there and some pretty good ones. So we were talking the last time Scott Merrill was here about some of our favorite brands, and Barry was like, what were some of those brands? So apparently now Barry has the bug. I like to keep my tequila in the freezer. It won't freeze. It just gets really cold. Then you pour it in a shot glass. And
like you have email.
oh, I've got another email.
Drunk.
Uh-oh. Oh, it's our friend Barry. Here's a tip for being my tequila sommelier. Much appreciated. Thank you, Barry. You know, probably Scott Merrill, who's partaking of this currently, is going to have more accurate information. I can tell you when I was enjoying tequila. I can tell you what brands I was drinking. I don't know if anything's changed with those brands or what new brands have come out since then. But thank you for the gift card, and you'll have to let us know what you think. All right, so let me just take another look here in the comments, see if you guys have any other questions. Andy says Scott Merrill is a great guest. I agree, and Doug Betts too. And I try to bring these guys on once a month. So as soon as you see October 1st, November 1st, it's on my mind to say, hey, it's time to bring them back on. That's kind of my gauge. I don't necessarily have a specific date or a specific day of the week. I just reach out to each of them and I say, hey, you got any availability to join us? And we try and do that. I'm trying to do that once a month. And with Scott, we talked about going through setting up his Synology, and he's an 8 terabyte drive short. And I haven't talked to him since. So I don't know if he found the other 8 terabyte or if he ordered one. But I'm very much looking forward to the whole Synology setup with Scott. And then with Doug Betts, there's always something going on. With both of these gentlemen work as real working technicians, and they have a YouTube channel. So I very much enjoy having my peers on the show. And even though we have very different techniques, I respect their techniques. I will explain my techniques and why I use my techniques, but I'm not trying to change their mind. I'm just saying, here's the way I do it, and this is why I do it this way. I'm not looking for approval. I'm not looking for them to say, oh, that's a better way than I do it. That's not what I do. Sometimes people misinterpret. I'm simply saying, I follow this process, and the reason why I follow this process is this reasoning. That reasoning may not apply to them and their customers. They have reasoning that may not apply to me and my customers. And I find that conversation to be interesting without it being challenging or insulting or suggesting my way is better than anybody else's. My way is my way, and I'm just explaining it. And people can go, oh, I guess it makes sense. If I was in Carey's shoes doing what Carey does, I would probably do it the same way. In much the same way, I could say the same back to them. And through this trading of ideology, if you will, or technique, based on our priorities, Doug's billing is much different than mine. Doug has a much more traditional billing method, which, I don't know, something's wrong with me when it comes to billing. I always give my customers way too low prices. I think Doug and I would be in fights if we were sharing a partnership in business, and I would know my place. I would say, you know what? I don't have a problem with charging the customer for every minute I'm there. Let me rephrase. I don't have the problem if I did the work and I said to Doug, let's say we were partners, I'd say, here's my timesheet. Here's how much time in the car at the client, and let Doug do the billing. I don't need to know. Do whatever you're going to do. Charge him whatever you're going to charge him. That's out of my hands. If a customer says, hey, Carey, why was my bill so expensive? I don't know. Got to ask Doug.
Okay? I have no problem with that. But if I'm the one making the prices, and if I'm the one sending out the bills, I'm definitely giving away a lot. That's all right. I can sleep well at night. Not that Doug can't. He's probably got a much nicer bed and pillow with all that money. I'm just teasing. My billing practices are anybody who's in business just shakes their head when they hear me. They just go, man, you just give your business away. I just feel like it's fair. They oftentimes disagree. They'll say, you're not being fair to yourself. I can take it. So yeah, hopefully we'll have Scott Merrill and Doug Betts returning. We still got to twist Mike's unboxing and reviews and how-to come on the show. With that 8-hour time difference between us, it may be a little difficult, but not impossible. Luke Greeny says, I used Clipchamp. It would have been a better video if I was any... You know, I've never used Clipchamp. But if I film a video out of my phone, I just use the YouTube app, upload the entire video to YouTube, and just leave it unlisted if I don't want people to see it. And then that way I don't have to worry about time limits. I don't have to worry about resolution issues. I don't have to worry about any editing, right? If I'm just showing it to friends, I don't need to edit. And I don't have to worry about sizing and email limits. Just send a link. There you go. And do it however you want to do it. I'm just trying to tell you about an easier, less frustrating way you could choose to use if you want to. All right, so any final questions, and we'll address them. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up for today. I think the gist of today's video is whether or not these last two computers from Emerald we have work is irrelevant. They're both too old to really be useful. This one, I guess in a pinch, if you wanted to run Windows 10 on it, you could, but with 4 gigs of RAM, and the other one to have to go and pull some RAM. Now granted, Emerald Computers has tubs of RAM. It'd be no big deal. I don't have that old RAM anymore. I got rid of it. If it's DDR3, which is what I think it is. I don't have DDR2 or DDR3. I have DDR4 and DDR5. I don't have a big warehouse, so I have to be very careful over how I'm using my space. So if I have something I haven't touched in 2 years, it needs to get out of here. And if a customer says, oh, can you help me with that? I don't have it, sorry. I'm not storing it on behalf of a maybe future customer so I can just turn around and give it away. You know what I mean? Like, that's making my life more difficult than it needs to be. So at a certain point, things have to go. It's already crowded enough. I already look like a hoarder as it is, but I can justify everything I've got here. Some things, I have a couple nostalgia items that don't really serve any purpose. Everything else is tools and equipment. And like I said, if I find I haven't touched a tool or a piece of equipment in years, if it's a tool, I'll just put it away somewhere and get it out of the way. I'll find it later if the day ever comes when I need it. A soldering iron. I haven't touched a soldering iron in over a year. I don't think there's going to be any more soldering coming up soon. I could be wrong. So the soldering iron isn't down here anymore. It's in a box upstairs. And there's still overcrowded down here. Still trying to make my way through things. And I'm making progress, but it's not going to happen overnight. Mark Batt said, thanks for a great stream. Have a good weekend. Well, thank you, Mark. You too. Thanks for hanging out with us. Frank says, is Plex Media Server or Jellyfin a kind of NAS? No, they're applications. And they're applications that don't need a lot of power. They don't need a big computer to run them. So you could run Jellyfin or Plex on a very inexpensive, low-powered machine. Most NASs are pretty low-end processors. And most NASs, you can put Jellyfin and Plex on those as applications. Think of it like your phone. You can download applications like the Google Play Store. You put apps on your phone. Those are apps.
Some applications people run on their computer are quite resource intensive, like video editing. I don't want to do video editing on my phone, but Jellyfin and Plex, they're pretty lightweight little apps, no big deal. And they're often put on NASs because movie libraries are often from people who collect movies, like our friend Mitch has gigs and gigs, hundreds of gigs of movies. And that's just not going to fit on a regular, you'd have to have multiple drives and it does. That's very inefficient and expensive. NAS is cheaper. Andy says, thank you to Mara for fixing our internet issue. Yeah, it looks like it went away, huh? Well, that was kind of weird, wasn't it? In fact, since we restarted the last time, we've just crossed over the 2-hour mark. That first hour, because I had to stop the stream, the clock restarted. But it's been running now for 2 hours without a problem. So the total time that we've been on, at least I've been standing behind this bench, is about 2 hours and 45 yeah, almost 3 hours. It was a rough Friday for me today, you know? Had those little bumps to get over. But, you know, so what? It's what I do for a living. It's just another day. It's unfortunate when it happens during a live broadcast, but I'm not immune from it any more than anybody else. And thankfully, with Mara working behind the scenes, it doesn't mean I have to go and deal with it myself, because that just adds to my stress. So, and what a lovely job she did on today's thumbnail. Remember, we have all the links for those Windows and Office keys. They are back. Yes, you can pay with PayPal. And yes, the keys are guaranteed. There's 6 months of free support with the keys. If you run into any issues, any concerns or issues, you're welcome to email us. I always advise you to go to them first, because let's face it, they're the ones operating all this stuff. I don't. But if you're frustrated with any sort of activity not happening fast enough, or you don't like the answer you're getting, if you're not getting an answer, or you just prefer to work through us, it's probably a little slower to work through us. But we will resolve it one way or another. Okay? And I only mention it because it takes one person to screw up, and all of a sudden they're posting all kinds of comments and warnings about how they were ripped off when we don't even know what happened. They didn't tell us. They want to post it publicly like it's a warning, and it's like, let us help you. You didn't even ask for help. And then we find out they didn't need the help at all. They overreacted to something. They were jumpy. And then once we were able to resolve it, we can remove the comment. It's not justified to scream and shout without at least letting us know what's going on. We don't even know. So I have to keep reiterating to people, this is a safe purchase. You're going to be okay. And if need be, you reach out to us if there's any problems. The vast majority of people are just simply going to follow the steps. They're not going to make a mistake. They're not going to misunderstand. And they're going to have a perfect process 99% of the time. This message is for that 1% or fewer than 1% that ran into a bump in the road, whether it's regardless of whose mistake it is. It's not the point of pointing fingers or blame. It's about getting you a solution. And that starts with letting us know there's a problem. Seems pretty obvious, right? So, and now if we can't solve your problem when we tell you go to hell, then you leave your comment and go, this guy's a jerk. You just got to get the order of events in the right order. We're good. So that's our email address if you want to reach out. And of course, our friends over at URCDKeys, their website looks like this. The links are in the video notes below. The password, or sorry, not the password, the coupon code, that's where it goes after you add the item to the cart. And then finally, after you've followed the instructions, you get an email after your purchase. You then activate your Windows or your Office software. That's all there is. And if it doesn't work for you, that's what we're here for. But that's also what they're there for. So you're not like, hey, you're on your own. Tough luck, buddy. You want to build your own NAS? Good luck with that. You're on your own. But if there's any sort of financial transaction of something I endorse, I personally stand behind it. Now, you find me another content creator that does that. Typically, they only do it with their own merch, and sometimes they don't even do it then. So that's how strongly confident I am about the legitimacy and the quality coming from URCD keys and those good folks over there. So you can buy with confidence. That's all I'm trying to say. All right, that'll wrap it up for me for today. Thank you to all of our members for joining us. Also, a shout out and a thank you. I don't know if I missed any super chats today. Thank you to Abdul Azim Patel, who's renewed his membership. Rick Lakes had contributed $10 right at the beginning of the show. Thank you, Rick. Jack Kugelmes contributed $5 Canadian. I think he joins us from Toronto, Canada. And of course, a shout out and a thank you to Barry Klein, Charlie Purdy, Mark Gaines, Raymond out there in the UK, and of course our good friend Buster and Kelly Stewart. It's these guys who make these public videos possible that we can present them. And of course, thanks over to Jason at Emerald Computers for letting us play with some of the inventory over there. And now we've been through all of it except the video card BIOS thing. Maybe I'll do that Sunday, I don't know yet. But at least all this other stuff can go back to him. And when we bring it back, guess what? We get to go back in the warehouse, see if there's any new stuff. It's got some all-in-ones we can put up here on the table, take a look at some all-in-ones, trying to find different stuff we can look at and play with, and try and grab about a half dozen things so that we're not going back every other day to give us some projects to work on. And if you want to shop over at Emerald Computers, emeraldcomputers.com, and also they have a YouTube channel if you want to see like the latest inventory and specials. Inventory moves quickly though, so you want to call them to verify they still have the item available that you're looking for. Okay, because their inventory lists aren't kept up to date other than every 6 or 8 weeks. So a lot moves quickly there. So don't just assume because you saw it on the video, they still have it. You want to confirm that first. That way you'll be a happy customer. Such is the nature of recycling. It's a lot of in and out constantly. Equipment coming in, equipment going out. You miss your window of opportunity, it's gone. But there's always more coming in. All right, thanks to Mara, of course, for all the work she does behind the scenes, and thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in, especially those joining us in the chat room. That'll wrap it up for me today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Sunday. Until next time, bye for now.